When did you find out you were playing at Wembley?
Friday lunchtime.
That's been a weight off your mind to know that you were going to play.
Well, I didn't think about playing, you know, because they take a squad away and like you help out in the dressing room, you know. A player might want this or a player might want that. So they take 15 players away. So everybody, and somebody might get sick, you don't know. And there was no substitutes, so, you know. And we were sitting there having lunch. There was Andy Rankin, John Hurst, Colin Harvey, Tommy Wright, Jeff Barnett. All the young kids were together, sat there having lunch. And then Tommy Eggleston came over and says, Mike, he says, the boss wants to see you after lunch, you know. And John Hurst said, you must be playing, Trebs. And I said, no, I'm not playing, I'll just come down. Anyhow, there was what we thought was there was one place up for grabs, and that was Sandy Brown and Tommy Wright. And what I thought of was the boss wants me there to see what he says to Tommy, and, you know, I don't know what it was, anyhow. And I walked into the room, and there was Tommy, Sandy, and Fred Pickering. And I couldn't figure out what Fred was doing there. Because as far as we were concerned, it was all done and dusted. The only change was going to be Sandy, Tommy for Sandy. So the boss goes, at a time like this, he says, decisions have to be made. And I'm the one that's got to make them. He said, so Sandy, I'm leaving you out and putting Tommy in, which we all knew anyhow. And then he went, Fred, I'm leaving you out and putting Mike in. So there's such a thing as just about to fall off the chair. I just about fell off the chair. I mean, I've only been here 4 months now, and I'm going to play in a cup final. I mean, every schoolboy's dream in those days was to play in a cup final at Wembley and score the winning goal. I mean, every kid dreamt of those days. So I'm playing at Wembley, and I'm thinking, cup final, all I have to do is score the winning goal. You know. So
when we went 2-0 down, did you honestly think we've lost this here? We're going to have to come back in 12 months.
I wouldn't have come back at all. I mean, that would have been the end of me, I think, you know. But I remember exactly how it was. And it was our kickoff, so I stood in the middle of Wembley, very, very lonely and a long way from home, because I'd just replaced the England centre forward. And I knew that 40,000 Evertonians would say, Harry Catterick got it wrong, you know. So when I looked at the scoreboard, Sheffield Wednesday 2, Everton 0, looked at 100,000 people around, looked at the other end, Ron Springett, the England goalkeeper was there. I hadn't had a shot all day, you know. So like I say, I was very lonely. And then I just looked up at the sky and I said, why me, Lord, why me? And then 4 minutes later he says, that's why you, Trebs. In Royal Square.
What was going through your mind when you scored the equaliser? Can you remember? Can you possibly put it into words?
Yeah, I remember it. I'm going to tell you a little secret here. You're not going to believe it, but I'll tell you a little secret. When we got the free kick, Brian Harris came up and he said to me, get out of the way because the big guys are coming in, you know. So the ball, I went and stood on the edge of the box. And Labby came up and we knew the ball was going to go to the far post. I mean, that wasn't a problem. And so I looked at it and I stood on the edge of the box and I thought, if that ball comes down, I'm just going to run and wherever it goes, I'm going to smash it. And it just dropped right in my stride, right on the half volley. Couldn't have been sweeter. And when my childhood thing came back to me, get as much leather on leather as you can and hit the target. And then I saw Ron Springett's hat in the corner. I said, if I hit that hat, it's going to be a goal. You don't believe that, do you? But if you watch
it's a fairy tale. I'll believe anything, by the way.
If you watch the DVD, you'll see Ron Springett's hat go up in the air. Yeah, and I told a guy the other day, and he says, I don't believe that. I said, no, well, you'll never know whether it was true or not. But all it was hit the target. You know? And Jimmy Gabriel says to me, he says, I saw your eyes light up. He said, no, I just moved out the way because there was nothing going to stop it. It was just going to go, you know. But hit the target, that's the point.
It was probably the greatest comeback in FA Cup history, one of them at least. So you must have had a good night that night. You must have enjoyed yourselves.
But I think everybody was like tired, you know, because going there, training before, you know, and it was difficult for the guys from Everton because, I mean, I was from the country, so I didn't have any relatives or nothing like that. But those guys from Everton, We'd have had people wanting tickets and phoning them up at nights and blah, blah, blah. And they'd have been a bit tired by then. But me, like I was fresh because I wasn't, nothing to do with me. I wasn't going to play anyhow. You know? So, yeah, it was pretty hard for those guys. But for me, it was like, all the things you'd saw, and it came back in 4 minutes. Now, how'd you put that into a story? And it was just like, the first one was like, I learned from Jimmy Greaves. And Jimmy Greaves was the best goal scorer of all time, I reckon. And I saw Jimmy many times put the ball in the near post rather than the far post. And when Derek headed it down to me, I remember Ron Springett coming across, and I thought, he knows the rules. I'm going to hit back across, and he'd be waiting for that. So I hit straight instead, and he was dead before. Yeah.